Good morning or good early afternoon. XRP Future Millionaire here at 12:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast of the United States of America and the great state of Michigan as Michigan gets ready to play Georgia in the college football playoff at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to get into the numbers, we're going to get into what I think, and we're also going to get into the betting. So, first things first, let's do it by the numbers. Georgia versus Michigan Orange Bowl odds, plays, and insights. So the Orange Bowl will see the Georgia Bulldogs 7.5-point favorites take on the number 2, 12-1 Michigan Wolverines, 7.5-point dogs, who are also 12-1 for spot in the college football playoff national championship. The spread's minus 7.5. The over/under is 46. The money line's minus 333 and plus 240 for Michigan. I have a couple bets we'll go over at the end of this broadcast. The over-under insight, Georgia and its opponents have gone over the current 45.5 point total in 7 of 13 games this season. Michigan and its opponents have combined to score more than 45.5 points in 7 of 13 games this season. Michigan, by the way, has the best statistics against the spread in all of the FBS. So that's one thing to consider. The two teams combined to average 77.1 points per game, 31.6 more than the over-under in this contest. The contest over-under is 19.9 points more than the 25.6 these two squads combined to surrender per game this season. The Bulldogs and their opponents have scored an average of 51.2 points per game in 2021, 5.7 more than Friday's total. And the 45.5 point total for this game is 6.8 points below the 52.3 point per game average total in Wolverine games this season. So Georgia stats and trends, and this will help you on the betting front. In Georgia's 13 games this year, it has 8 wins against the spread. The Bulldogs are 7-4 against the spread when favored by 7.5 points or more this season. Georgia has gone over the point total in 46.2% of its opportunities this year, 6 times over 13 games with a set point total. This year, the Bulldogs put up 23.3 more points per game, 39.4 than the Wolverines give up 16.1. Georgia is 7-5 against the spread and 11-1 overall this season when the team records more than 16.1 points. The Bulldogs rack up 126.3 more yards per game, 442.5 than the Wolverines give up per outing, 316.2. When Georgia amasses over 316.2 yards, the team is 7-5 against the spread and 11-1 overall. The Bulldogs have 16 giveaways this season, while the Wolverines have 16 takeaways. And then let's see the Michigan stats and trends. Michigan is 11-2 against the spread this year. Michigan's games this year have hit the over on 7 of 13 set point totals, 53.8% of the time. This year, the Wolverines put up 28.2 more points per game, 37.7, and the Bulldogs give up 9.5. Michigan is 11-2 against the spread and 12-1 overall in games when it scores more than 9.5 points. And like I said, they're the number 1 team against the spread in all of the FBS. The Wolverines average 197.1 more yards per game, 451.9, and the Bulldogs give up per matchup, 254.8. Michigan is 11-2 against the spread and 12-1 overall when the team piles up more than 254.8 yards. This season, the Wolverines have 11 turnovers, 5 fewer than the Bulldogs have takeaways, 16. And then if you want to do average points scored, so average points scored, Georgia 39.4, Michigan 37.7. Points allowed, Georgia 9.5, but they got slaughtered in the SEC championship, so I would be very wary of that 9.5. The SEC is very weak, and we'll go over the combined bowl records as well for the SEC and Big Ten. Average points allowed, 16.1 for Michigan. Total yards allowed per game, 442 for Georgia, 451 for Michigan. Total yards allowed, 254.8 for Georgia, 316.2 for Michigan. Giveaways, Georgia's turned the ball over 16 to Michigan's 11 times, and takeaways are even at 16. So, in my opinion, we have the advantage in the turnover department. Cade McNamara is a much more proficient quarterback. Doesn't turn the ball over very often. In fact, I think he had like 4 or 5 interceptions the entire season. 2 of them were heaves. So, let's take that into account. So, that's the first thing I wanted to see. But now, real quick, I want to do the Big Ten bowl record right now, just so you guys can see a comparison. So the Big Ten is 5-0 in the bowl games. And if you want to see, the Big Ten is undervalued. The Big Ten is a much better conference, in my opinion, now than the SEC. The SEC is 1-5 in bowl games. Last night, the Big Ten beat up on the SEC again. So Purdue knocked off Tennessee in overtime. Another big one, Wisconsin won last night. The Big Ten's just rolling in the bowl season. We're always underrated, undervalued, but when it comes to bowl season, we usually dominate. In comparison to the SEC is 1-5. That's atrocious. Atrocious. So that's what we're looking at with the bowl records. So, I mean, undervalued conference, Big Ten all the way. So, and then the Orange Bowl by the numbers, Georgia versus Michigan. So, we've got number 3, Georgia, 12-1 versus Michigan, 12-1, 2 versus 3. Oops. I don't know what that was. So, Michigan, 0 seasons with 13 victories for Michigan, a feat that Wolverines would accomplish for the first time if they won the Orange Bowl. Michigan has 2 12-win seasons, posting a 12-0 mark in 97 when they won the title. And going 12-1 in 1905, Michigan won its first 12 games in 1905, but closed the season with a 2-0 road loss to Chicago. Georgia would post its third 13-win season with the victory on Friday. The Bulldogs went 13-2 in 17 and 13-1 in 2002. Previous Orange Bowl has featured SEC versus Big Ten matchup on January 1st, 2000. Michigan defeated Alabama 35-34 in overtime, missed extra point. In the fourth Orange Bowl, Auburn defeated Michigan State 6-0 on January 1st, 1932, but the Spartans weren't independent at the time. Previous appearance in the college football playoff for Georgia. One for Georgia. Michigan is making its college football debut. Georgia defeated Oklahoma 54-48 in double overtime in the Rose Bowl before falling to Alabama 26-23 in the national championship. In 2017, 1.08 sacks per game have been averaged by Michigan defensive end Aiden Hutchinson this season, the best rate in the Big Ten and the third best in the nation entering the bowl season. Hutchinson's 14 sacks this season are a school record. Georgia has allowed only 8.85 sacks per game in 2021. I don't think they have an answer for him, for Aiden Hutchinson and Ajabo, so we're going to see. The lowest average in the SEC and the 6th lowest in the nation. Michigan passers have been even harder to sack, with the Wolverines yielding average of 0.77 sacks per game. 2 previous games between Georgia and Michigan, the Wolverines won 26-0 on October 5th, 1957, and the Bulldogs won 15-7 in 1965, both were in Ann Arbor. 2021 consensus All-Americans for each Orange Bowl team. Georgia, defensive tackle Jordan Davis. I think he's very overrated, and you're going to see that today. He hasn't shown up in his big games, and if you look at his actual game performance compared to a couple I'm going to name on Michigan, it's astounding. And then you have a linebacker, Nakabe Dean, were consensus All-Americans this season, as were Michigan's defensive end, Aiden Hutchinson, kicker Jake Moody. Davis won the Ben Derrick Award as the nation's best defensive player and the Outland Trophy as the nation's best lineman. Dean won the Buckus Award as the nation's best linebacker, and Moody won the Lou Groza Award as the nation's best kicker. 4 consecutive bowl losses for Michigan. The Wolverines' most recent bowl victory came on January 1st, 2016, when Michigan defeated Florida 41-7 in the Citrus Bowl. That was Lloyd Carr's January 1st, 2016. No, that was after Lloyd. That was Harbaugh. Who the hell was that? Was that Harbaugh? Maybe. Michigan lost to Florida State 33-32 in the Orange Bowl on December 30th, 2016. South Carolina 26-19 in the Outback Bowl. January 1st, 2018, Florida 41-15 in the Peach Bowl. 18 Alabama 35-16 in the Citrus Bowl on January 1st, 2020. So Michigan's record is 21-27 in bowl games. Let's see. Let's get into some relevance. 4 Michigan players have scored at least 120 points in one season, including 2 in 2021. Michigan Jake Moody has 122. Hassan Haskins 120. They joined Desmond Howard, who scored 138. Chris Perry, who scored 120. Haskins has 20 touchdowns, which is tied for second with Perry on Michigan's single-season list. Howard scored 23 touchdowns in 1991. That doesn't sound right. He broke 9 victories and 5 losses against Big Ten opponents for Georgia. The Bulldogs have a 9-2 record against Big Ten opponents in bowls. Georgia won its most recent game against a Big Ten opponent, being Penn State 24-17 in Tax-Slayer Bowl in 2015. 9.5 points allowed per game have been scored against Georgia this season, giving the Bulldogs the lowest average in the nation. Michigan yielding 16.1 per game. As the 4th lowest, Michigan has averaged 37.7 points per game. Georgia 39.4. But Georgia got slaughtered against Alabama. That 9.5 points, 11 TD receptions by tight end Brock Bowers. That'll be something to watch. So he's got 791 yards receiving, 47 receptions, too short of the single season record established by Shannon Mitchell. I'm sure he's going to get that today. So all this other crap is just stuff that's irrelevant, but that's what I wanted to get through. And then the 2021 Michigan football statistics. So like we said, 37.69 points per game, allowing 16. They put up 490 yards a game, giving up 209. They rush for 158, give up 84, pass for 112, give up 118. 3,076 yards gained on the ground. They average 223.8 per game. Passing, we have, where are we at here? About 228 per game, 20 passing touchdowns. And we only give up 194 through the air, and we've only given up 13 passing touchdowns all year. We rush for 223 yards and have scored 39 touchdowns on the ground, but we've only averaged 121.5 and have only given up 11 total touchdowns on the ground. Total offense, we've had 5,875 total yards, 451.9 per game. We only give up 316.2 and 4,111 overall. We've given up 24 defensive touchdowns, but we've scored 61. Kickoff average is about 21 yards. We have our kickoff total at 26. We're only giving up 12. Punt average is where we have a very big deciding factor, I think. We have a 46.42 yard average, net punt 44. And we give up 38 yards on the return. So, I mean, time of possession, we hold the ball 31-48, give it up 28 minutes per game. Average per game in penalties, we have 42 yards in penalties, opponents 44, or 42 to 44, 64 for 551, and 68 for 579 defensively. So, third down conversions were 45.40%, 79 for 174. Defensively, we've given up 65 out of 200 at a 32.5 clip. Fourth down conversions on the offense were 14 for 24, 58.33%. Defensively, we're 15 for 31. So defenses are making it at a 48.39% clip. That's a little high. Fumbles lost. Fumbles 14, lost 4. We forced 21 fumbles, recovered 8. Sacked 34 times for 213 yards. And then our opponents are sacking us. Where is this? Because we have a decided sack advantage. Only 10 sacks for 90 yards the whole season. Red zone attempts were 59 out of 64, and opponents are 24 for 30. Red zone touchdowns were 41 for 64, but we've only given up 14 out of 30 touchdowns. And then for Georgia, looking at the same thing, and then I'll let you guys go. Well, first we'll look at the bets. So points per game, 39.38, giving up 9.5. First downs, you got all the stats. Rushing yards, 2,700 or 194 per game. They only give up 81.7 on the ground. So something's got to give. Michigan's averaging well over 220 yards per game. And they've given up 1,465 yards on the ground this season. Passing, they average 247.92 yards per game. They give up 172.62. Total offense, average per game about 442. They give up 254 yards per game. They've scored 65 touchdowns, only allowing 14. Kickoff average 19 yards, giving up only 13. So the kickoff game looks pretty good. Punt 47, giving up 42, not bad. Penalties 38.31, 62 for 498. Opponents 86 for 667 or 677. So they control penalty yards per game. They're pretty content. They don't make a lot of mistakes. It doesn't look like. Average per game 30-26, 29-34 for opponents. Third down conversion, not very good. 63 for 143, 44%. A little bit lower than Michigan. Neither great. 68 for 204, 33.33% on defense. Pretty good. Fourth down, 7 for 13, 53%. 53.85%. That's a little higher than Michigan. And 13 for 28 on fourth down on the defense. 46.43, about average. Fumbles lost 13, recovered 4 by the other team. 16 forced fumbles on defense. They've recovered 4. Sacks allowed 41 for 309. That's where Michigan has the deciding advantage. Michigan's only given up 10 sacks for 90 yards the whole season. So 4.1 times more sacks allowed by Georgia, and that's going to be a problem against Ajabo and Hutchinson. Sacks yard lost. Or no, they've sacked 41 for 309. I'm sorry, this is going to be a great matchup. That's what, I don't know why I read that backwards. They've only given up 11 sacks for 75 yards. So Michigan 10 sacks all year, Georgia 11. Defensively, where a ton of yards come from the sack, so that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Red zone attempts 53 for 61. Their defense has given up 15 out of 25 red zone possessions. Only 8 red zone touchdowns, holding 17 teams to field goals. And they've scored 38 touchdowns and 23 field goals. They cannot kick field goals against Michigan and think they're going to win this game. So that's by the numbers. Hopefully this helps. We got to get some straight facts out here because a lot of people don't cover the actual numbers by the numbers. They just like to cover the FUD, which is fine. Let me turn this around. So I'm going to show you guys what I've done. And yes, you guys are going to be able to see, but you're not going to be able to see my password. Oh. No, I want to hide. I'm sure you guys can still see it. Whoops. Oh, I messed it up anyhow. P. Okay. So, what I've got right now, my bets, because everybody keeps asking, I've got a $213 bet on Michigan straight up. That would pay out $713.55. I've got $20 on Michigan to win in the over, pays out $130. And then I've got my out there pick, Michigan plus $1,000, $100, and that would pay out $1,100. So be a couple $1,000 payday if Michigan wins this game. But that's what we're looking at if we want to look at some other point spreads on the game. We've got Michigan -7 or +7.5 -110. Georgia -7.5 also -110. Got -300 on the Georgia money line. I think they're very overrated. I don't know why Michigan's +235. So I made a pretty nice bet there. The over/under is 45.5 at -110 either way. Then if you go into more wagers, we can do Georgia to win and over 45.5. I did Michigan to win and the over 45.5. That's I only put $20 on it to pay $130. Then we've got the line total parlay. I haven't done anything here because I took Michigan straight up. It's actually up to 8.5 now on the total line, the line and total. So Michigan plus 8.5 and over 45.5 pays plus 240. That's probably a bet I'm going to take as well. Probably put $40 on that. You know what? While you guys are watching. So Michigan. So I've already took Michigan in the over at 145.5. I don't know how this game's going to stay under 45.5. I just don't. It just doesn't seem possible to me that we're going to get that big of a defensive battle. So I'm going to throw. I've already done this right here. I've already put $20 on that, or Michigan to win and over 45.5. So over 45.5 and Michigan to win plus 8.5. I'll probably put $25 on that. Be another 60. That's not the bet I want though. The one that I want, I'll show you. If we wanted to take a gamble, if we were going to try to make some real money. So you take Michigan, and this is an interesting one, and I understand it's going to be a risk. You take Michigan plus 1,000. You come back to the slate, and since we know the Big Ten, you can either go Michigan plus 1,000, or you take the Michigan plus 1,000 and you parlay it. Where the hell's I need football. You parlay it tonight with Iowa to beat Kentucky at plus 126, and a $10 bet will get you $238. So this is another one. If Michigan wins, obviously they're going to have to cover. But for a Michigan to win 14 plus and an Iowa cover the money line, that's a pretty big bet, you know, for something like that to happen. But on $20, you can win $477. So to me, that's the kind of bets I like. $20 for $477. You win $497. And yeah, that's likely not going to happen. Michigan to cover 2 touchdowns and Iowa to win. But if those were to win, those are some nice parlays you can put together for very cheap. Probably throw another $50 on my account today. But that's a nice cheap parlay you can put on there. And remember, guys, you've got on the bowls, if you do a 16 parlay, you can get back up to $100. So if you do $20 to $50, you get $10 back on a 16 or 4+ leg parlay in college football in the bowl games. If you go 50 to 100, $25 back. If you do 100 to $199.99, you get $50 back. And 200 or more in cumulative parlay wagers, you get 100 bonus. But it has to be 4, and you can't do same game parlays. That's the exception. So I'm not doing this to show you a link. I'm just showing you this to get a little bit of a betting for them. Cincinnati against Alabama. I think if you're going to take the odds, I mean, you could bet on the plus 14 for Cincinnati, but I would stay away from that. That's too risky. If you're going to take a gamble, I would take Michigan plus 14. I think they're very underrated. They're the number 2 team in the country, and they destroyed Ohio State, their main rival. Ohio State was number 2. And we kicked the shit out. Or what were they? I don't even know. 4, 3, 2. I think they were 2. 2 versus 4. We kicked the living shit out of them. Georgia and their conference championship got the shit beat out of them by Alabama. So they did not slay their demons. They lost to their main rival once again. Michigan slayed their demons, destroyed their main rival, destroyed Iowa in the Big Ten championship by 40. And they're rolling. And they have an undervalued quarterback in Kate McNamara. And let's face it, Georgia's got a lot of questions at quarterback, and they don't even want Stetson Bennett. So there's a lot to watch. And I hope this helps to give you a little perspective on the game.